guys, welcome back to another episode of Unches for Lunches. I'm your host, Kyle Lunch. Today, I'm going to teach you how to cut strip steaks. Strip steaks, one of the easiest things that you could possibly cut. You have a real nice looking side, and then you have a really ugly, gristly looking side. Why don't we just jump right into this lesson? So a lot of butchers would pre-trim this loin. I mean, actually, like, take the fat, and you can do that. If you're good with your knife, you can absolutely do that, but I wouldn't suggest doing it. For starters, I would suggest taking this gristly end right here and getting rid of it, facing off a steak. Okay, and this actually is what I would use for like kebab meat. So I would get rid of this heavy fat here, and then I would just section this off into a pile. Clean it up, make it nice. Take your scraps, pitch them, and then start cutting your steaks. So this is an unacceptable steak here, again, and it seems like it's a waste, but it's not going to be the greatest. It's got gristle in it. You can tell just by looking at it, you know. So again, I remove the heavy fat, save this for kebabs or Philly cheesesteak meat or anything of the sort. Get creative, use your imagination. And then usually it takes about 3, but I'm liking the looks of this steak here. That's okay. It gets into another really pretty piece. So after, and you can judge it yourself, you know? That's the beauty of buying your own loins and cutting it yourself. I think that'd be an okay steak, but I'm still gonna use it for kebab meat. Because now we're getting into the really pretty part of the loin, and now I'm gonna teach you what you need to know. After you have those first few ends taken care of and out of there, I mean, by all means, you could use them as steaks if you want to. I just don't think they're good enough. I don't think the quality's good enough. Once you get to this point, you're gonna finish cutting your steaks. I like to get a couple thin steaks, a couple breakfast steaks, and it's really important if you're learning how to cut meat, you always want straight cuts. If you have a wedge cut, it's gonna cook unevenly. I mean, that's pretty common sense. And after I get these steaks cut, I'm gonna show you guys how to trim them properly. I'm gonna get 2 more thin ones. Again, they're good for breakfast steaks, steak and eggs, right? And then I'm gonna cut a couple thick ones. These ones are gonna be about 1 inch, okay? We're gonna trim them all. Again, we're gonna trim them at the end. Now I'm gonna get a nice strip of roast. A strip of roast is like a 4-inch steak. Something like that. This will feed about 2 people. You see that beautiful marbling. Now this is not certified Angus beef. It's just USDA inspected Angus beef, but I got it for $5.99 a pound because I bought the thing in bag. I bought the whole strip loin. You get a really good price, and I had a 14% discount because I'm an employee, and I ended up having a $10 off coupon, so I got this thing for $40. I'm gonna cut a couple more really nice ones as I get to the end here. And then I'm gonna show you guys how to properly trim these. You can tell they're not certified, but they're still pretty. We're gonna get this stew meat out of the way. Stew meat or kebab meat. You could use it for either one because it's steak pieces. You don't wanna use roast meat for kebab meat, ever. Some people do. Good luck chewing a leather boot. Okay, simply make the sizes exactly how you would want them for your kebabs or for your stew. That's pretty easy. You take these and you cut them up so you have even cubes. It's very easy to do. And again, these pieces have a lot of gristle in them, but they're okay for kebabs, right? You don't need prime cut meat for kebabs. You get, I don't know, 3 kebabs maybe loaded with veggies out of that. It's pretty good. Scoot this out of the way and we'll get down to business on these steaks. We're gonna start with the strip roast because I can easily show you this tendon right here. There's a lot of meat cutters that leave this tendon on. That's one sign of a sloppy meat cutter. You don't want to, or a lazy meat cutter, you don't want to do that because it's a terrible, tough, ugly tendon. You wouldn't want to eat that. So I take it off. And then this fat here, what they call trimming the steak, I've heard actually people call it framing the steak. You want to make sure you have a nice, even cut, and then so it's actually rounded almost. And it's harder to do with a 14-inch knife like this I'm gonna actually buy a trimming knife here pretty soon, but I don't have one right now that's sharp enough to actually show you guys how to trim properly. But that looks good enough for a roast. And for a roast, you might want a little bit more fat on it. Now, let's move to the thin steaks. The thin steaks, I want to put a little bit more attention to detail too, because they're breakfast steaks. And I take my breakfast so seriously. I don't like this, how this thing is flopping off here, so I'm gonna take that off. And in terms of the fat, nice even line. It's really hard to trim properly with a big steak knife like this. You know, again, it's ideal to have a 7 to 10 inch for a trimming process, but minimal fat on the breakfast steaks. We want a nice lean breakfast. Why? Because we want nice lean steaks for our breakfast, because we're gonna have a lot of fatty bacon. Again, maybe an 1/8 of an inch trim for my breakfast steaks. Again, remove that tendon, get that guy out of there. It's ugly. Nobody wants to look at a strip steak with that big ugly tendon on it. With those nice lean breakfast strip steaks right there. Now, on to the real boys for the grill that I'm having tonight. And it's by this point in the video that you're gonna be bored of me doing the same thing over and over again, but this is how easy it is. You take the tendon off, you round your fat, and then you let it get to room temperature and season it and throw it on the grill. But again, get rid of the tendon. Round the fat. Again, you're not trimming the meat, you're framing it. And they do sell cutting gloves if you're scared to cut with a really sharp knife and you're just beginning. You can buy them on Amazon or wherever else. I just got this big knife for Christmas actually. Again, take the tendon off. And that's it. And there's the strip cutting tutorial. Now I have a big strip roast. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strip steaks, 4 breakfast steaks, and a big old pile of stew meat or kebab meat. Everybody always asks me what kind of knives I use. In this video is a Del Strong Gladiator Series 14-inch breaking knife. And a big knife like this is good for breaking down big pieces of meat, cutting roasts. And if you're cutting steaks, more or less cutting them evenly. You know, so you get that, it's nice and easy to keep a straight line with a big knife like this. I highly suggest buying one of these knives. This video is not sponsored by Del Strong, but I was really impressed with this thing. The only thing I don't like that you might want to keep in mind is the handle. The material it's made out of actually can become quite slippery when blood touches it and stuff like that. I noticed that. This is my first time actually using this knife, but I've been staring at it for days. I've been so excited to make this video because I wanted to use it. It feels very balanced in my hand. It's German carbon steel. I'm really impressed with it, other than just the handle is really slick. So maybe a rubber glove or some type of grip, if they make a gripper for a knife, that would be cool. But I kind of just overlook it because the knife is so badass. So there you go, that's what I have, a Del Strong Gladiator Series 14-inch breaking knife. All right, folks, that's it. We're closing up shop. It's closing time. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe to Unches for Lunches. It really helps me out. YouTube gave me a stat that said 99% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So go ahead and smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.